Hi everyone. If you're a property manager in the US, you've probably been shocked by the news. Airbnb is ending the split fee model and moving PMS connected hosts to a 15.5% host only fee. In this video, I want to do three things for you. One, I explain exactly what's happening. Two, I'll show you how to fix it so you can still earn the same payout and preserve your margins. Yes, the money in your pocket can stay the same if you take the right steps. And three, I will answer the question you're probably asking yourself. If I can show you that actually you can make up for this increase and also make it so that the final guest price does not change from before, and you still have the same pocket in your money in your pocket, then why is Airbnb even doing this? Well, let's dive in. First, until now, many US PMS connected property managers were still on what Airbnb calls the split fee model. You paid about 3% as a host, and your guests paid an additional 14 to 16% service fee at checkout. Right. So basically, Airbnb would take away 3% from you, and the guest had to pay on top of this 14 to 16% service fee. Starting October 27, 2025, that option disappears if you use either a PMS or a channel manager to connect to Airbnb. You will move to the host only model, which is at 15.5%. What does that mean in practice? Well, when a guest books on Airbnb, they will no longer see a service fee line at checkout. That's important. First, we need to talk about the guest fee. It's disappearing. They will just see your nightly rate plus the cleaning fee or extra guest fees that you have, and of course, taxes. Then Airbnb takes 15.5% directly from your payout instead of the 3% they used to take. Of course, this does not affect the US, right? I'm talking about this because there's been so much noise around this. People saying that Airbnb is doing terrible things. Well, you know what? In Europe and most non-US markets, PMS connected managers have already been on this host-only fee since 2021 at around 15%. What's new for them is that the rate is slightly higher. It moves up from 15% to 15.5%. Note that in Brazil, it's at 16%. So again, two groups here. If you basically using a PMS channel, a PMS or channel manager, sorry, it was a rough night. You end up paying 15.5% wherever you are in the world. That's it. That's it. No more gas fee, right? Um, so how can you fix it? Well, here's the good news. Your margins do not have to shrink as long as you adjust. Yes, the cost of distribution on Airbnb is rising for you from 3 to 15.5%. Yes, that's true. But what counts in the end, think of this any distribution channel, what counts is maybe not just the cost of the channel, but the overall margin I'm making, right? And here in this case, you have, if because the guest fee disappears, you now have room to raise your prices by about 14.8% and still keep the guest total price roughly the same as before. What I meant to say is that before you had a 3% fee that you basically were taking out, Airbnb was taking out from you, and then you had the guest fee that the guest was paying. This guest fee is disappearing. If you look at the total price, it means there's still room, right? You can increase your 90 rates basically so that you make up for this guest fee that's gone. Otherwise, basically, if you stay the same prices, same money, same nightly price, Airbnb will take 15.5% have less money, and on the guest side, the price will be much lower for them. Think about this, right? If you don't change anything, basically, you're not paying this 14 to 16% guest fee anymore. So think about this. You can, all things being considered, you can get back to that price the guest was seeing by increasing the nightly price to that exact amount total for the guest. So the guest, to them, it's the same. And for you, it's the same because in the end, 15.5% that Airbnb is taking from this much higher money you're making, it comes down to the same for you. Um, for example, imagine you had a nightly price, a nightly rate at $100. Airbnb used to take $3 from you. You had $97 in your pocket, right? Now, as I told you, there's a formula. Basically, you take your all night rates and you increase them by 14.8%, or basically you multiply them by 1.1479 to be super precise, right? If you do that to any of your prices, it means that basically, for example, here in our case, your nightly rate will be 114.79. Airbnb takes is 15.5%, which is 17.79, and what's left is $97, the same as before as your payout. So don't forget, Airbnb also applies its fee to the entire booking subtotal. That means not only your nightly rate, but your cleaning fee and some other fees. So make sure that you also increase the cleaning fee by this 14.8%, so that you, when Airbnb takes its share, you don't end up with a lower cleaning fee in your pocket. Um, so how do you do this? Right? Yes, you can. If you have static rates in your PMS, for example, just multiply by what I said, and you send the price right to Airbnb. But for most of you, if you're using a PMS channel manager, what you would do, for example, imagine you're using PriceLabs. PriceLabs still, you don't change anything in PriceLabs. PriceLabs still sends the prices to your PMS. But in your PMS, as you may know, you can put a markup for each channel you send your prices to. There, probably your markup you have in your PMS is currently 3%. Well, move to 15.5%, and voila, you increase your prices on Airbnb by the amount you need. So you can see you need to. So no panic. It's not the end of the world. 4 years ago, it happened in Europe. We survived. Do you think if you do nothing, your payout will drop? So it's not so much focusing on, oh, yeah, my cost is more expensive. Yes, your cost is more expensive. You also can make up more money because you're going to raise your rates and make the same amount of money. Which actually you're like, but wait a minute, Thibaut. Why is Airbnb making me do all this if it comes down to the same amount of money in my pocket and the same amount of money for the guest? Well, four big reasons. One, it's about conversion psychology. Guests do not like service fees, any guest fee. I remember back when I was working at Booking.com, we ran experiments. If you show to somebody the same total price with just one that says, oh, there's a service fee line, and the other one does not, the one without service fee line converts better. It's just psychological. And everybody knows this and actually says that usually it does increase the conversion. That's what Airbnb needs right now, right? They want to do everything they can to increase conversion. Again, they've done this in experiments or this in Europe. They know it increases. But number two, by the way, in terms of brand perception, yes, I know some people, some guests thought that the service fee was from you, not from Airbnb. But most actually really do understand it's from Airbnb. So certainly in a way, Airbnb is always, people say, oh, Airbnb has become expensive, Airbnb, yada, yada, on the guest side. Well, by erasing its service fee, kind of looks like Airbnb is cheaper, if you will, right? That's if it's expensive, it's not for Airbnb's fault, right? It's you deciding on the price, which we know is not the same because in a way Airbnb just forced you to increase their night rates to make up for this. But that's interesting, right? So brand perception wise, well, Airbnbs may look cheaper or at least not as willing to take money. Three, remember, if in the US, the total price display. Airbnb had to set up the total price display on the website before doing this. So the writing was sort of on the wall, right? Since April 2025, Airbnb shows the all-in price up front in the US in search results. When you start searching, you see all the prices fully loaded. That was missing piece for them, right? Without it, imagine if they didn't have introduced it first, if they were forcing you now to switch to the host fee model, it would mean that people with on a split fee model would look cheaper. Why? Because if you don't show upfront the fully loaded price and you have a higher nightly rate now, right, to make up for these higher costs, people who still have people who are still a sleep fee model would show a nightly price that's lower than you, and then at the moment of checkout, we'll see there's actually a service fee to be paid. So by showing the fully loaded price first, it means that Airbnb then makes it not more advantageous to have one or the other model. So then it means then they could roll out this in the US. Why again is it different in Europe? In Europe, by law, it's been 20 years at least that you must show the fully loaded price as soon as people buy. If you ever been to Europe, you know how it is. For example, VAT is included in any price. If you go to the US, you buy something, you have to pay sales tax on top. The price display does not include this. So that's an example with sales tax, but bear with me, right? Just so in Europe, the habit has been always been to do this, so it was easier to introduce. Fourth thing, let's talk about non-US property managers who are using connected software. Well, for them, right now, actually they're paying 15%, and that will increase to 15.5%. That's not nothing, right? 0.5% in our industry where margins are tight. That's, you can feel it. So that one is interesting because this is a real increase. Because then, as a property manager, you have a choice: either you eat it up or you pass it down, right, to the guests. It's your decision. So you may have to increase your rates and really increase your final prices here, because you can't you're not making up for anything here. That's interesting. But in this case, it's really a case where Airbnb is actually taking more money here, because in the end, you need to increase your prices, or you need to, so the guests will pay more, or you need to eat it up, so you pay more. Interesting, right? So here's the bottom line. If you're a US PMS connected manager, you're losing split fee, no more, and moving to 15.5 host only fee model. If you're non-US, Europe, for example, you're already on a host only fee, right? But you're moving up to 15.5%. It's 16% in Brazil. If you're non-connected, you can still stay on split fee unless you opted for the host only fee earlier. So yes, Airbnb's distribution cost is going up, but your margins don't have to shrink, right? If you're not yet on a host-only fee, as long as you act. Adjust your nightly rates, think about your cleaning fee, think about your markups. Guests won't see a service fee anymore, which improves conversion, and you'll keep the same money in your pocket. Just for example, if you're European, in your case, it is increasing by 5%, so 0.5%. So you have to think what to do: eat up, pass it down.